Erica, I want to know when I say these words, does it bring up any sort of memory for you? Okay.
Okay.
Erica, you're still in the running towards becoming America's next top model.
Of course. Tyra Banks. Are we going to talk about Tyra Banks today?
Yes, we are
Oh, I'm so
talking about
excited.
Tyra Banks. Now, when you think Tyra, is there any other model who comes to mind who may have been in a feud with her?
Naomi Campbell?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, you got it.
If there's one thing I know, it's drama.
Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I am your host, KJ Miller, founder, lecturer, and content creator.
And I'm Erica Manganelli, pop culture comedian and content creator.
And today on the show, we are talking about the supermodel icons, Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell, who, ruled the 99s in the 2000s as far as modeling goes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I feel like they both have been in a good handful of controversy.
Yes, they have. They've had their share of controversy. They've had their share of feud, some media created, some legitimate. And so I do think this is going to be a fun one to talk about because there's lots to talk about.
Let's do it. I feel like I don't know that much about their feud, but when you give me a refresher, I might remember.
I know you're always like, oh, I don't know anything, and then you're like, oh, actually, I remember this very specific detail.
Yeah. Some things just stick in there. And
they never stick in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, well, we're gonna get into it right after this, folks. If you have not subscribed to our bonus episodes, what are you waiting for? You get more me, you get more Erica, you get more laughs, you get more queens. I mean, do I need to say more? And I've given you so many ways to do it. You can subscribe on Patreon, Substack, Spotify, Apple. Literally take your pick. There are so many ways to get more of me and Erica. So it's $5 a month. Definitely go on and do it. You're not going to regret it. And with that, let's get back to the show. Okay, so Erica, let's get right into it. I actually want to start with this. Did you know that Tyra and Naomi are only 3 years apart in age?
No, I did not know that.
Is that kind of surprising to you?
Yeah.
It was kind of surprising to me. In my mind, and this is not me being shady at all. In my mind, Naomi was, many years older than Tyra, because I feel like the narrative always was Naomi came first and then Tyra sort of tried to follow in her footsteps, steal her spotlight, whatever. So in my mind, they were separated by many, many years. No, just 3 years.
Wow. I didn't know that. I also thought she was older.
Yeah. So Naomi was born in 1970. Tyra was born in 1973. And so as of today, they are 54 and 51 respectively. And I will say maybe part of the reason I thought there was a bigger age gap is because 3 years in modeling is
probably wide.
Yeah, like it's kind of significant. Like they both actually got their start when they were around 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
So, if most models are starting at 15 and when Tyra enters the scene, Naomi's already 18, that does seem like a big gap.
Yeah, for sure.
In model years.
Both model the same amount of years? Or did one go for longer?
They pretty much both modeled the same amount of years. Now their modeling careers looked pretty different because Tyra went more commercial, where Naomi was always a bit more high fashion. But in terms of like how many years they each spent really in the thick of their like catwalk, runway, Vogue cover modeling careers, it was about the same time.
Because Tyra was a cover girl, right?
Oh yes, they both were.
Oh, okay.
They both were.
Okay.
Well, yes, getting to some more of their similarities. Okay, so, we're just jumping right in. I'm going to get back to more of the history. But, yes, they were both not only cover stars, but they were firsts in many ways in terms of the covers that they did. So Naomi was the first Black woman to feature on the cover of French Vogue. And she was the first Black woman to get the American Vogue September issue, which is like the most coveted month to get a cover for Vogue. So she definitely, did some big firsts. Tyra was the first Black model to get Sports Illustrated Swim.
That's pretty cool.
Cover, yes. And so, yes, they were both cover models. They were both supermodels, and they both like broke, made history.
I was actually, I love that history, but I was actually talking about easy breezy, beautiful cover girl.
I love that you were talking about the makeup company. Now that is a good question. Were they both cover like?
I think Tyra wasn't she? Or no? Maybe I'm making that up. Mandela effect. I could be making that up. I just thought she was.
Yes, Tyra was. You are correct.
Okay.
Tyra was a spokesperson for CoverGirl, the makeup brand.
Right. Okay.
Now, was Naomi Campbell? It does not look like Naomi Campbell was.
I don't remember her doing any like makeup ads, commercial type things.
It's interesting. I don't either. Yeah, I actually don't remember her being a makeup ad person either. But yes, you're correct that Tyra was a cover girl.
Tyra was like, I see a bag and I'm going to get it.
And I'm going to get it. And you know what else? Tyra actually, I don't know if you remember, she launched her own beauty brand.
I don't remember.
Yes.
I'll have to look that up.
It was called Tyra Beauty, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? It does sound familiar.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember it getting that far.
I mean, the celebrity skincare and makeup brands don't usually go that long a distance. Like Kylie, I feel like is kind of an exception, but
yeah,
a lot of them kind of fizzle out over time.
Yeah, I know. It's certainly not in business now, and I don't know how long it stayed around, but I want to say not long. Not long. So, and oh my God, now that I'm reading about it, it was a multi-level marketing business. I didn't realize that.
No,
I did not realize that.
Wow. Not an MLM. This is throwing me for a loop.
Me too. I didn't know that. I've
never heard of a celebrity having an MLM before.
I just stumbled on an article in The Cut. The title is, this is from 2016. I made a whopping $27.75 selling Tyra Banks beauty products.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Apparently she called her sales force beauty tainers.
And what? Why? Nobody was like, maybe we shouldn't. This is
Oh no. You know what though? Fun fact, I'll take a quick detour here. When I first started my brand, Minted Cosmetics, a lot of people tried to convince me to turn it into an MLM. And not just random people on the streets, investors.
Right.
We're like, because it is a good way to grow fast.
Sorry. Yeah.
The problem is it's also a good way to scam people. And
yeah,
I was like,
it's so scammy.
I don't want to be a scammer.
Yeah, that's so scammy. I don't like it.
No, me neither. Anyway, well, fun fact, that's that was Tyra's business. She let it go.
What a rabbit hole we just fell down.
I know. Randomly.
Nowhere, yeah.
All because you asked about CoverGirl. So thank you for sending us down that rabbit hole.
Of course. Anytime I could sing a jingle. Gonna take it.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's back up. Let's rewind. Okay. Let's walk down, memory lane a little bit for both of them, revisit their history and how they got started so that we can then talk about the feud in a bit more detail. Okay, so starting with Naomi, as I said, she was born in 1970. She got her start in modeling at 15. She was basically discovered. So she grew up in the UK and she was at Covent Garden and someone discovered her like a scout, basically. Was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Your cheekbones, your
oh my gosh,
facial structure, your symmetry. She got discovered and within a year was booking runway shows.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes. Very, very impressive. So that's how she got her start. Also, within a few months of being discovered, she was on the cover of British Elle, like literally before she turned 16.
That's so quick.
Okay. So
she was gorgeous. She was like a baby. I've seen pictures and such a baby.
So beautiful. So this was like 1985, 1986. And she started rapidly ascending, like booking covers, booking runways. As I said earlier, first Black model to appear on French Vogue. This was in 1988. So she would have been 18 years old. She also was in Time magazine at 1991, so 21 years old.
Wow.
And then also booked American Vogue September issue on the cover. So
she was booked and busy
completely. And she was, like I said, where Tyra was started to become a bit more commercial. Naomi was always high fashion. So she was a runway mainstay for Versace, Chanel, Dior, Alaya, like name a big brand.
Yeah.
Naomi was there. Okay.
Was she an angel?
She was not an angel.
Okay. We'll get back to it.
Yes, we'll get back to it. Tyra was an angel. And the other thing that I love about Naomi is she really was one of the first models who kind of like defined and coined the term supermodel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was her.
Janice Dickinson, right? She was one of them.
Now I remember she likes to say that, but when in these articles I'm reading,
nobody gives her the credit.
They don't
She's like that old lady.
They really quote her. They
She's
really
like 70s.
don't quote her.
In my day, I was a supermodel.
Exactly. I don't see them quoting her quite as much. The official list, the usage of the term supermodel, people apparently kind of started using it back in the 1940s, but it really didn't blow up in terms of public consciousness until we got the big five. The big five were Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Linda Evangelista, Christy Torlington, and Claudia Schiffer.
Okay, that makes sense. That lineup makes sense.
Yes. So these were the five really known as like the first supermodels, which like really kicked off the area. And they were on a 1990 British Vogue cover. So it was Naomi, Cindy, Linda, Christy.
I think I saw that cover.
Yes. Iconic cover.
Yeah.
We'll include a link in the show notes to it. So this is where like 1990 is where the term supermodel really entered public consciousness. And Naomi was right there. It's not like she later became a part of the conversation. It was like, no, she started the conversation.
She was the mainstay.
Okay. Now, what I think
gonna get messy.
It's well, and this is where it starts to get messy because Naomi, and she's spoken about this on record, it was always very clear to her and later to Tyra that there was room for one Black woman at a time.
Oh, okay.
So she was booking these shows. She was booking Chanel. She was booking Dior, but she would be the only Black model there.
Like, as in she is just stating the obvious that there was only one there, or she's saying like, there's no room for you also.
No. Like she's stating the obvious, like basically she's being told. And not even just told explicitly, but it's very implicit because it's like, I'm the only one here.
Yeah, of course.
You guys could obviously be booking multiple Black models, but you're only booking one, and it's me. And so she starts to feel very territorial. Like if there can only be one, then it's got to be
that.
me.
It's gonna be me. Yeah. Right. You can't blame her.
Right. I mean, you really kind of can't blame her.
Cutthroat.
And modeling is very cutthroat anyway based on everything anyone's ever heard about that industry. It's very cutthroat, and you have a very short window. People aren't modeling in their 60s or their 50s or their 40s. Like
you go from like 15 to 19. Now lately though, they're letting them be like a little bit older. They're
you can be a little bit older now,
20s, early 30s, but then they're like,
right, but
you're a housewife now.
Exactly. In the 90s, as soon as you hit 26, 27, it's a wrap.
Yeah, the 90s was rough.
The 90s
in
were
every
very rough.
aspect.
So you're looking out at your career and you're seeing, okay, there can only be one of us. And so it's got to be me. I've got about 6 more good years on this clock. And so I think very understandably, Naomi developed basically like a sense that like at all costs, I've got to protect what's mine.
Okay, so is this why she starts to get like a bad rap for being like kind of a bitch all the time?
I think 2 things were at play here. One was, I think she was kind of protecting her turf. 2 was, I do think Naomi is very particular, very particular. I don't know if you've ever seen, if I can find this clip, I'll include it in the show notes as well. But I don't know if you've ever seen this clip where she's boarding a plane. She's, of course, flying first class. And the routine she goes through, this is before COVID, okay? The routine she goes through to wipe down every inch of her area. And she was just like, I don't want anything touching me, whatever. And at one point, I think some woman who's also in first class was like, oh, like, can I have a wipe or whatever? And Naomi was like, bring your own.
Oh my God, no. I thought you were going to say she lended her wipes out. Yeah, so she might already just have like a little touch of bitch, and that's okay.
She's very, I'm going to say she's very particular. She's very.
Don't we all?
Yeah. She's very particular. And also, to the point of her being like, one of one in most rooms. Yeah. She was being invited to be in music videos with like George Michael and Michael Jackson. Like she was that girl.
I was about to say that. Yeah, she was that girl.
She was that girl. There was no denying it. And yeah, she had an ego. She still does.
Yeah, I think she still does. Now, she was in a little scuffle with her housekeeper one time or something, right? Tossed a phone at her.
Oh, I think that's right. I forgot about that. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Maybe. Allegedly.
I think you're right. Yes, yeah. Allegedly. And so, yes, is she very particular and does she have a bit of an ego? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, was she used to having to fight to get where she was and protect her turf? 100%. Yeah. So that is Naomi. Transitioning to Tyra.
Yeah.
So Tyra, similar to Naomi, she's discovered at like 15. And she wasn't just discovered as in just like kicking it. She was like, I want to be a model. Yeah. And so she went around like basically kind of like pitching almost to multiple agencies, eventually got signed to Elite Model Management, which is one of the top agencies, or certainly was at that time, when she was 15 years old. And in her very first season walking in Paris, she booked 25 shows.
Wow.
For Paris, yes. Fashion Week, yes. 25 shows. And then her list of firsts in terms of covers, she was the first Black woman on the cover of GQ.
Wow.
That was in 96. She was the first Black woman, as I mentioned, on the cover of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition. And she was the first Black woman to model in the Victoria's Secret catalog and become a Victoria's Secret angel.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. I remember her being an angel for so long.
I feel like she was the most iconic angel.
Yeah.
Like
her and like Heidi Klum.
Her and Heidi, yes, were the ones you thought of when you thought of Victoria's Secret angels, 100%. And so, but relative to Naomi, where Naomi again was Dior, Versace, Chanel, the fact that Tyra was willing to do Victoria's Secret, was willing to be on like Sports Illustrated swim issue, she definitely was leaning more commercial than Naomi. But Tyra has gone on record, and we're going to listen to some of this because it's very it's a little awkward. But Tyra has gone on record to say when she was coming up in the modeling world, she looked up to Naomi, was like, oh, this is like, she's so beautiful, like, basically it was just like, this is who I want to emulate, this is who I want to be. And she's talked about how mean Naomi was to her when she was coming up.
See, that's all I ever hear about Naomi Campbell, actually. It's just stories about her being mean as hell.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
And Tyra, I mean, if you let her talk about it, she will really talk about it.
It's horrible.
She goes in on just like how Naomi was just very mean to her, called her a bitch, made it clear, like, I don't want you here trying to come for what I've got. Again, this is all based on Tyra's telling.
Right, of course.
And so, you know, it seems to me like Tyra from very early on, she knew she wanted to be a model. She, you know, wanted to carve her own lane, but everyone kept comparing her,
of course,
to Naomi, and Naomi didn't like that. And so when she finally actually got into a room with Naomi and they were like booked on the same gig for something, sparks kind of flew, you know?
Oh, I hate that, because they could have been besties.
They could have been besties. But it did not work out that way. And I will say, you know, before we listen, because Tyra, now let me ask you, do you remember this moment? Tyra confronts Naomi on her talk show. Do you remember Tyra's talk show?
I kind of do. Yeah. Well, I remember the talk show, but I kind of do remember them duking it out, like, and trying to make amends. And it was weird, right? It was like awkward.
It was honestly, I recall I had tuned in at the time, at least to the clips, but I think I may have actually watched it for real. But when I went back and watched, very awkward. Very awkward.
I remember it being very uncomfortable.
Tyra cleared out the studio audience. Like, there was no studio audience, so it could just be her and Naomi. The way she made it seem,
air it on TV.
Yeah, she made it seem like she wanted to do that so that it could be like a more intimate, private conversation. And weird. Also maybe so that, because, you know, on talk shows, like, people will be like, oh, or boo, or whatever. Maybe she wanted to spare Naomi that, or maybe it was something Naomi asked for. I don't know.
True.
But
okay.
To me,
it's
that
strange.
It made it feel a little more awkward. And then the vibe, I mean, you can tell me your vibe of the interview. My vibe of the interview was, it felt very prodding, like Tyra was like, why did you do this? And why did you do that?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. See, that's what I remember, is her, like, kind of like yelling at her. I don't really remember what her response was. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna watch some, because I think it's worth it. Now, I'm gonna let you listen to a good chunk of it, maybe like 5-10 minutes, just so you really get a vibe, and then we'll decide in post how much we keep.
Okay. No, but she's just vibing. She doesn't remember anything. None of that had any fucking significance to her life. Like, she was like, girl, she was just trying to get to the bottom of, like, are these people trying to, like, make you the new me and replace me?
Honestly, that
interview did not make me hate her. I thought
it would. It did not make me hate Naomi, but it did, I feel like, make me understand both of them.
Oh, for sure.
More, you know, because, like, I certainly understand Tyra's position. If she really was, you know, feeling like she was always being pitted against her, and then she finally meets her, and then this person she idolized, is rude to her, is mean to her, is a bitch to her, like, that obviously is going to stick with you forever. That is not something you are going to easily
for sure
let
and then
roll
Naomi's like,
back.
I've been a bitch to so many people, I don't even remember being a bitch to you.
Well, that, and I feel like Naomi was, I think two things were happening. One, I agree with you. I definitely think some of that stuff Naomi legitimately did not remember, because it didn't register to her the same way.
It didn't hurt her
like,
feelings, so she's like, whatever.
So it didn't stick with her. I agree with you there, but I also think Naomi, because to your point about her assaulting her assistant and all that, I actually went back, looked at my notes. Yes, she had a number of incidents. In 98, she pled guilty to assaulting her assistant.
Yeah. I think another one just recently, like this year.
Oh, okay. I missed the one this year.
Okay. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure.
In 2006, she was convicted of throwing a mobile phone at her housekeeper, as you were talking about. So she did have this kind of reputation. This interview happened in 2005. So this would have been after assaulting her last assistant, but before, but before throwing a phone at the next assistant. And so I think Naomi was walking into this interview knowing she has this like volatile reputation. So what she wasn't going to do was show up to this interview and act crazy. It just quite simply was no way she was going to do that.
No way.
Also, it's Tyra's show. Tyra has all of the editing power.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like she doesn't know what's going to happen when she walks out of this. She was like, one thing y'all are not going to do is have me out here screaming, yelling, catching an attitude. So that was never going to happen.
She prayed the princess. She was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even realize you were mad at me.
Exactly. And she, I don't know if you caught, but she apologized immediately. She was just like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize then. I'm sorry. So I think part of it was she didn't remember everything Tyra was talking about. And I think part of it was like she went out there knowing I'm going to apologize. I'm going to be very sweet.
Old school TV before social media was as big as it is now is so fucking funny because when she walked out and the audience was empty and the footsteps and the echoing through the audience fucking took me out. I was howling over here.
That's why I was saying it was awkward, like that the studio audience wasn't there because you've been conditioned to like an audience clap while someone walks out. So yes, when she walked out to silence, it was like.
And then she literally said, like, I'm not used to it being so silent. So funny.
Yes, the whole thing was hilarious. When Tyra was like, use the word accosted, she was like, well, remember, and you accosted me.
I know that shouldn't have made me laugh, but it made me laugh so hard because her reaction to it was just kind of like, did I do that?
Yeah.
It was like, I accosted so many people, I can't remember.
But you know what Naomi has said in interviews when asked about this? Like, one thing she has said that I do deeply understand is I was young too. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
That first exchange they were talking about, they said Naomi at the time was 21. Tyra was 17, 18. So both of you were essentially children. Like that's very young.
And she was so high on the horse and she thought that girl was about to take her spot. And
hardcore. Naomi has also said she really didn't have mentors. So she's young, she's in high fashion, which is like, a cutthroat industry. She doesn't really have mentors. All she sees is people telling her this girl's coming for your spot and there can only be one of you. I don't know that many of us would have reacted that much differently or that much better.
I know. Yeah, I could see any like young girl being a bitch in that exact scenario.
Totally.
Honestly, I didn't really have too much of an opinion of her, and then I listened to her on that Tyra show just now, and I'm like, I kind of like her. She seems awesome.
I honestly have always had a soft spot for Naomi, particularly because, and this is, not to get too deep with it, but Naomi isn't just Black, she's dark-skinned Black. And to be a dark-skinned Black woman supermodel in the 90s.
So impressive.
When nobody was checking for dark-skinned Black women, I just can't even imagine all of the shit people said to her, to her face, behind her back, the things designers said, the things I'm sure some of the seamstresses said,
of course.
Hairstylists who didn't want to have to work with her hair type, makeup artists who didn't have the right makeup in their kits to do her makeup.
She had to be on the defense like 24/7.
24/7. She probably had to be so tough just to like walk into those rooms and do what she had to do. So I personally have always had a soft spot for Naomi. By the same token, I feel similarly for Tyra because Tyra, as we started this show talking about with ANTM, Tyra made her own lane with America's Next Top Model. Like 100%. Nobody else was doing what she was doing. And she was the executive producer. She was the host and she was the creator.
Yeah, that show was super successful.
She
was crazy, but it was super successful.
It was the number one show for multiple seasons for the CW. It was their like flagship show when it launched. Cause they came out of, was it UPN that they merged out of?
Or WB.
Or WB, one of them. It was their number one show, their flagship show, and she was at the helm. And so there was nobody else doing that. Certainly no other Black woman doing that in media at the time other than Oprah, which I remember at the time people compared her to Oprah all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel for her too. Like now when we go back, we take such a critical lens when we watch back like some of the challenges, and those challenges were crazy. I mean,
they were insane. And so many things they said were so questionable now.
So questionable. Also, who they called plus size. If you look at who they called plus size on that show,
that's probably the most concerning part. Actually, is the stuff with the weight.
Average looking women, not even average, like honestly slender women.
Yeah.
Being called plus size.
And they're like, you're too chunky for us.
Everybody was too chunky. And some of those, basically like blackface type.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
challenges.
I know, it's horrible.
Ooh, very bad, very bad.
How about when they used to make them chop all their fucking hair off and they'd be like crying?
Yes,
they would give them like a pixie cut or something, and they'd be like sobbing and say, "Hair doesn't make you."
So bad. I'll never forget. There's this one white girl. I don't remember her name, but not only did they chop off all her hair, but then they gave her a weave. But the weave was like so bad.
I remember that.
She looked terrible. Terrible.
And then they were like, God. You're beautiful. She's like, I'm not. I had beautiful hair before this.
They really were crazy. But
great TV.
It was a different time, and it was great TV. Oh, it was fantastic TV, and it was a different time. So now, people take a very critical lens to ANTM, and I get it. Like, yes, some of it was very problematic. At the same time, Tyra, like I said, was in a league of her own.
Yeah.
There was really nobody else doing what she was doing. Mm-hmm. It was incredibly impressive. But when you are kind of like the first to do something that big on that scale, you have an entire network counting on you.
Oh, yeah.
All of the endorsement deals, advertisers, everything counting on you. Are you going to push some envelopes for ratings that maybe in your better judgment you wouldn't? Yeah.
For sure.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
She's like, did you use this foundation that's 9 shades too dark for your face? I can't.
Truly.
It'll be great for ratings. Oh shit, those poor models.
Yeah. ANTM was wild, was truly wild. And her talk show too. Did you know her talk show won multiple Emmys?
That doesn't surprise me because I remember that talk show being on for a long time, and I remember her doing crazy stuff on there too.
Oh yes, when she gave away Vaseline to everybody. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that at all. She's like, "Your dry skin, not here."
Because it was after Oprah had given a car to everybody and was like, "You get a car, you get a car,"
and she's like, "You get Vaseline."
Yes, Tyra was like, "You get a Vaseline," and you get a And what was so funny about it, because I remember I did watch this, was she was talking about it. She was like, "This is my best kept beauty secret. This is the thing that has kept me looking young for years and years." And then she goes, "Vaseline," and
everybody's like, "Yes." It's too much.
That show
not
was wild.
Vaseline. She was slugging before people were slugging.
Oh yes, she was 100%, and she looks great. So
she does. Her skin is fantastic.
She is 51 years old, not looking a day over 40. So yes, maybe Vaseline is the answer. You know what?
That's so true. We all need a little more Vaseline.
Truly, but yeah, I will say for both of them, I think I understand their feud. I understand that a lot of it was caused by the media, by people telling them, not just the media, but by the industry saying there can only be one of you. I understand that puts both of them, particularly Naomi, because she felt like it was her spot that she had to protect. It puts both of them in a really difficult position.
Yeah, for sure.
But despite all that, they both, I really do, I feel like I can say very definitively, they both helped each other immensely.
It seems like careers. They also made up in the long
they have
run.
made up. Yes, they have made up.
So that's good.
It was like a little bit of a dicey makeup period.
It was. But
because after Tyra hosted that show years later, like in 2020, I recall seeing Naomi reposted, someone had written an article basically saying like, maybe Naomi wasn't the villain. Maybe Tyra was the villain all along.
Oh no. Was she like, and maybe she was.
Yes, Naomi reposted it to Instagram. So
no. Okay.
This was in 2020. Yes. But
I just don't
then,
think she likes her. She don't like
then
her.
I think they've had some social media moments that were like a little bit like
nicer.
A little bit nicer.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're mostly over it, you know, and I think they've mostly squashed the beef. And I will say, I definitely think they really have helped each other because, for one thing, I really think you can credit both Naomi and Tyra for basically forcing the fashion industry to abandon this idea that there can only be one at a time.
Oh, for sure.
Like, because now that's not a thing. That's really not a thing anymore. And I think it is because they both were too good to be ignored or be sidelined or to say, like, it can only be one or the other. Even though that's what the industry was trying to achieve, I think they both made it clear, like, nope. We're both going to exist here at the same time. We're both supermodels. We'll make our own lane. And I think that helped the two of them, but just helped like the fashion industry more broadly.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know about helping one another specifically as much as it helped the group in entirety, but
that's true.
For sure.
That's true.
For sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I think at the very least, yes, it helped fashion. It helped Black women in fashion. And I also think their dynamic, you know, the same way having a rival always kind of pushes you
for sure
to be better.
Competition, a little friendly competition.
Yeah.
Plus Tyra like really took over the commercial space of it, and Naomi really was the high fashion space. So there's something to be learned there where like they could definitely, if they could get it together and not hate each other, they could really learn a lot about how each one branched off into their own thing.
Yes.
But I think one might be a little bit caught up in the I'm better than you of it all.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, they, you know, learned how to navigate their own lanes. But I do think anytime there's a bit of a rivalry, that's going to push you, push you to be better. And I think the true is same here. But the other thing I will say is just in general, when I think about the fact that what both of them had to like and I actually made a TikTok about this before we hopped on to record. They were both operating at such a high level of excellence because they had to
before their frontal lobes were formed.
Okay. Like literally in their teens. And the fact that they were both doing that and modeling that for one another, I have to think there was a part of them that felt like, beyond even the rivalry pushing them, a part of them that felt like, okay, if she can do it, so can I.
Right.
You know, like I'm not actually in this completely by myself. Like not just a rivalry thing, but a like, okay, there is another Black woman at the top of her game doing this thing that I'm doing. Like a part of me feels like there must have been, even if
100%
subconsciously, a little camaraderie there.
Right. Right. Like that little show they put on the talk show. There has to be a little bit of something there.
A little bit of something. At the end of the day, yes, to your point, like they both, Naomi agreed to do that because she was like, it's not just going to help her and her ratings. That's going to help me too.
Oh, for
There's
sure.
like a give and take there. I really think so.
I think so too. I agree. And I just want to add in that everyone makes fun of Tyra Banks' forehead, and it's really not that big. So I don't know why they give her so much shit about it. It's really not that big.
It's not that big, girl. Don't even worry about, girl. No, girl.
It's just a regular forehead.
It's just a regular forehead, girl.
That's it for this week, everyone. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at 2 Queens, 2 Crowns, and to check out the podcast on YouTube, 2 Queens, 2 Crowns.
Erica and I would also love for you to follow us on our personal socials. I'm on TikTok at @Iam_KJ Miller and YouTube with the handle IamKJ Miller. And Erica's on IG at LettaBino and TikTok at Letta_BitchNo. We'll see you next week.
Bye.